Please check my community board for said updates and movies of the week. Still here, playing on Tubi. And my other movie suggestion, which is a doozy, it is called Ride. It is about the ride share experience. It is now playing on Xumo, Xumo. Please check your Roku app for those said movies. Still here, Tubi, and Ride, now playing on Xumo. This is a two-part live pertaining to Kaitlin Armstrong. She has been found guilty by her peers, 12 members of a jury, and Brett Hankinson, who was one of the former officers who shot into the apartment of Breonna Taylor. 12 members of a jury were deadlocked in that said trial. News Nation is the source pertaining to Kaitlin Armstrong. Thank you for joining me.
Guilty is the verdict. Live from Austin, Texas, News Nation's Alex Capriello joins us from the Kaitlin Armstrong murder trial. Just so you know, for your purposes, Alex, we announced the verdict a moment ago, but the feed we were getting was just a little bit late to the courtroom in terms of the actual announcement. So as we have throughout the trial, we'll rely on you to be our eyes and ears. Take us through the day and take us through what we just heard.
Yeah, we heard the closing arguments earlier this morning, but when it came to deliberations, it did not take long, just a little over 2 hours. The jury finding Kaitlin Armstrong, the defendant, guilty of murdering Mariah Mo Wilson, a first-degree murder, on May 11th, 2022. It was a very powerful moment inside that courtroom when that verdict came down. You could hear a sigh of relief from the friends and the family of Mo Wilson in those first two rows behind the prosecution. This was the justice that they were always hoping for. And once that verdict came down and the jury was excused from the courtroom, that's when we really saw the emotion pour out. The mother, the father, the brother, and Kaitlin Cash of Mo Wilson all gathering together, giving each other big hugs. And this was exactly what they had hoped for and prayed for, and it didn't take long for that jury to come to that decision.
Quickly take us through, if you can, the evidence in this case and what the jury was really dealing with, because you're right, it was a very, very quick decision.
Yeah, we always wonder exactly how long jury deliberations might take. It could take days, it could take weeks, but really in this case, it came by really, really quickly, only 2 hours. And I believe that's because there was just a mountain of circumstantial evidence that pinned Kaitlin Armstrong to this murder. We looked for 2.5 weeks at DNA evidence that showed Kaitlin Armstrong's fingerprints on the bicycle handlebars and seat. We looked at video surveillance that actually showed a Jeep that matches Kaitlin Armstrong's Jeep at the crime scene at the time of the crime. On top of that, along moving with that Jeep was her cell phone. She had turned it off in the hour before the actual murder happened, but even still, that GPS data really was irrefutable. On top of that, we heard witness testimony from several of Kaitlin Armstrong's friends who expressed that she had said that she was very jealous of Mo Wilson and that she had one day wanted to kill Mo Wilson because she continued to get in the way of her relationship with Colin Strickland. All of this evidence, insurmountable in the eyes of the jury. It only took 2 hours for them to comb through, and in the eyes and the words of the prosecution, they used their common sense here to find a guilty verdict.
Kaitlin Armstrong found guilty of murder. Live from Austin, Texas, that's Alex Capriello. We'll have more in a moment. We'll be right back here. Thanks so much for...
All right, everybody. That is News Nation. Did she get in the way of their relationship? Did she get in the way? Mo Wilson, Mariah. Did the jury get it right? GPS still pinged her car at the location, although she had turned her phone off an hour before going to this location where this young lady was staying with a friend. Did she kill this lady? Some would say she did. Her DNA is on the bicycle, so you can't explain your DNA on a bicycle. Seat, handlebars, whichsoever. That's pretty ironclad. You have no relationship with the young lady. You don't know her in a way to be dealing with her or using her bicycle. But I didn't hear anything about DNA under the victim's nails, because I brought you content yesterday that she allegedly fought back because her finger was shot. Besides her being shot in the head and chest, face. So was there any mention of DNA under the victim's fingernails or any type of transference of fiber? Because 9 times out of 10, she had to stand close range to her to shoot her in the head. It's very scary information. Once again, Kaitlin Armstrong has been found guilty for the murder of Mariah Mo Wilson. How does Mr. Colin Strickland feel now? Does he feel that justice has been served since he was very childlike in behavior in the courtroom when he had to testify pertaining to his relationship with Kay? Does he feel like justice has been served? Does he have any regrets in dealing with both women? Because it was a triangle at some point, whether it was October of 22 or it lasted a week, resumed spring of, I think I'm getting my time mixed up. The point is, was it worth it? Was it worth it to him? When he looks back, hindsight, was it worth it? Tangling himself up with both women, more women. Same thing for her, Kaitlin. Was it worth it? Does she feel like what she did was right? If she could go back and redo things, would she still make the same decision to kill this lady? I'm sure both of them are pondering their decisions in life, their decisions in dating each other, going back and forth in a relationship, words said, actions, because we really don't know what type of relationship these two had. He described it as tumultuous, but you really don't know unless you're there, getting a visual aid of how these people were interacting and talking with one another. And as I said before my commentary, I've been very frank about this situation. He is not somebody that I would be interested in, and I don't think any woman will, but we know how the world is. Some woman will date him. Some woman will date him. He will seek out a woman. He will seek out a woman. A woman will seek him out. Excuse me for my discrepancy in the timeline. That October, before the new year, he dated Mo for a brief moment. And that should tell you something anyway. How could it work when you're back and forth with one? You're living with that same one. And then you go take up with this lady who didn't even live in your jurisdiction. It wasn't going to work because he still had entanglements with Kaitlin. And I think a lot of people don't focus on that this was a three-way street. Not a two-way, but a three-way. And it doesn't matter what Mo told her friends, family about him. She wasn't dating him. She wasn't obligated to tell anybody anything because she's an adult. She doesn't have to tell anybody, oh yeah, by the way, I like this guy, but he's tangled up with this lady. He won't leave her alone. She won't leave him alone. She didn't have to tell anybody that because she probably knew what people would think. Well, he's not worth it anyway. You don't live there. You're not from there. What's the point? Exactly. Frankly, he had nothing to offer either woman because the relationship with Kay wasn't working, and he couldn't offer this lady anything because they didn't live in the same place, and he continued to be tangled up with Kaitlin. So he's a party to this drama. Now, he may not have held a gun to her head to tell her, hey, yeah, go shoot this girl I like. But he's the reason for the season. And I don't claim to excuse Kaitlin's behavior because, of course, what she did was wrong. Terribly wrong. And she was brutal with it. She wanted to make sure that lady died. So you could see the contempt and the hate she had for her. But in the end, as I said, he probably hasn't changed. His behavior in court and outside of the court shows he has some violent tendencies. He has some issues because he behaved very childish in court and outside of court last week. And as I said, that shows me his behavior beforehand. And he wasn't a good fit for Kaitlin. He wasn't a good fit for Mo or any other woman. He's got some issues. And I won't doubt that he has not changed. Now, if he continues this type of behavior, dangling around with different women, dallying around, that's his choice. But a woman should know what the end result can be. Because as I said, he's very lucky to be alive because Kaitlin could have just as easily shot him. And I think he needs to think about that. And maybe he has. That could have been me. alongside her because I was with that lady that night. And Kaitlin knew that. So he's very fortunate. But obviously, she thought she loved him, so she spared his life. That's my content for that as far as the audio. And then I'll come back and read you what sentence she will be facing and what the family had to say, family members had to say. I'm going to jump down to my next audio, and then I will read you commentary on both stories. Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $BeAngie129 Cash App. Stickers and chats are always welcome during the live stream. I posted a poll just a little while ago, about 14 minutes ago. Kaitlin Armstrong was found guilty of murder. Did jury render right decision? 4 votes, 100% says yes. The next content is pertaining to Breonna Taylor. WTHR is the source. Thank you all so much for joining me. Hello, Amy. He played a dangerous game. Yes, he did. Because that's the thing that people have to understand is that everybody has a role. And he may not have shot anybody, killed anybody, but he played a dirty game going back and forth between the two. And as I said, I wrote down that there were other women as well. I didn't hear any mention of it during trial, but there probably were. And as I said, he may have felt like it was a safe bet, talking to women that were out of his jurisdiction. But in the end, Kate found out. She found out. And that was mentioned during trial about the other lady in Colorado and also this lady, Mo. So that led me to believe he possibly was messing around with possibly women there. Like I said, it wasn't mentioned to my knowledge, but old habits die hard. WTHR is the source, 13 news pertaining to Brett Hankinson. Thank you for joining me, everybody. Well, let me see. Got to go back a little bit.
A federal judge has declared a mistrial after the jury deadlocked in the trial of a former officer charged with Breonna Taylor.
Brett Hankinson was charged with using excessive force that violated Taylor's rights during the raid in Louisville. He also fired 10 shots at Taylor's window and a glass door in March of 2020.
The jury struggled for several days to reach a verdict, and today they sent a note to the judge saying they could not reach an agreement. The mistrial could result in a retrial, but federal prosecutors will make that decision.
Okay. So, was it more people in favor in acquitting him or more in favor to find him guilty? He's no longer an officer, thank God. And there were a lot of misgivings in his behavior as an officer that came about, as many of you have probably followed the content. So how many people wanted to acquit him and how many people wanted to find him guilty? Let's go down to my poll pertaining to Mr. Brett Hankinson. Mistrial declared in Brett Hankinson trial of Breonna Taylor murder. What happened? More wanted to acquit or find him guilty? Most of you, we only had one vote, rather. 100% acquit. The one person who voted on this poll. Possibly so. Because we know that a lot of crimes that take place as far as deadly force, traffic stops, the officers are rarely brought to justice. This is an actual statistic. Most cops, detectives, who's ever on the beat at the time, state trooper, whomever, rarely are brought forward by the district attorney to stand trial for attempted murder and murder. Just here as of late, you're hearing a few cases where the police departments are firing the police officers and then the state bringing forward charges against them for deadly force. But it is rare, statistically, to have officers, 1, fired, 2, brought forward for attempted murder and murder. Once again, Brett Hankinson, jury deadlocked on his guilt during the raid of Breonna Taylor's home. And only one person voted on my poll pertaining to which way they thought the jury swayed, and it was 100%. One person voted thinking that they wanted to acquit him. And as I said, I think I possibly agree with that that rendering. I'm going to now go into my articles and bring up content on Miss K and Mr. Hankinson. Thank you for joining me. Oh, so much crime in the world. You would think people had better things to do with their time. As I said, we all make mistakes, lash out, pop off, but some of these crimes are just the murdering of people is unnecessary. I understand people have tempers, people get jealous, envy hearted, but you have to tell yourself there's a better way in dealing with your emotions because why in your life? And why end the life of somebody else when you can just walk away? Just walk away. NBC News is the source. This is pertaining to Kaitlin Armstrong. Thank you for joining me. The Texas jury on Thursday convicted the woman accused of murdering elite mountain bicyclist Mariah Mo Wilson in a jealous rage last year. The Travis County panel deliberated for about 2.5 hours before finding 35-year-old Kaitlin Armstrong guilty of murder in the first degree, which could land her behind bars for up to 99 years. And as I was pondering before going live, I didn't even know that they had, the jury had even gotten the decision to deliberate this morning. I had no idea. I just went into YouTube queue a little while ago and saw it, and I thought, oh my goodness, how did I miss that? The Travis County panel deliberated once again for 2.5 hours. She's facing up to 99 years in prison. Prosecutors opted against seeking the death penalty for the May 11, 2022 slaying. I wonder why. Why did they opt out? Wilson's loved ones hugged after the verdict was read, and Armstrong's younger sister, Christy Armstrong, openly wept. Minutes after the guilty verdict was read, the court went straight to the penalty phase as those closest to Wilson spoke about the victim and how her slaying impacted him. Now, you usually don't have the penalty phase right after that I recollect, because a lot of the times when I watch trials, it's a while after the guilty verdict has been rendered. Do they come back a month or so later, weeks later, to do the sentencing phase and people reading their commentary about the victim and or the perpetrator? She lived as if every day were her last day, Mother Karen Wilson told the court. She never wasted any time. It was as if she knew her life would be short, Wilson said. Armstrong shot Wilson, an elite 25-year-old mountain biker, 3 times shortly after the victim had dinner with the convicted killer's boyfriend, former pro cyclist Colin Strickland. Sorry about that. Authorities have said. Find that interesting. Former pro cyclist. So does he not ride bikes anymore? Just curious. Or compete. There were no witnesses who saw the slaying, and prosecutors built their case with the help of modern, everyday gadgetry that routinely follows human movements. And I also wanted to mention when they said GPS, wasn't her car that put her at that location? Did her Jeep ping her there? I was curious about that as well. Wilson was in Austin in May 2022 to compete in a race in Hico, southwest of Fort Worth. While she was in town, Strickland, who had a brief relationship with Wilson in the fall of 2021, texted her to meet up. So once again, as I had said, they had, I think, a short fling in October 2021, going to the new year, 22. They rekindled, which would have been last spring, they met up. Do not know what actually transpired between the two, but allegedly they went out to eat. Don't know if that was their only meeting or not. I think she just got there the day before. So I don't think they had a lot of time to just, hang out with each other. And they met, and sadly on that same night, Kay found out, tracked her down, and she killed her at her friend Cash's apartment. On the day of her murder, Wilson and Strickland swam at a local pool and then had dinner. According to prosecutors, he also lied to Armstrong about his whereabouts, according to a police affidavit. Very interesting. Strickland and Armstrong lived together, and she had access to his messages on a laptop at their home, prosecutors said. Okay. The suspect then tracked Wilson's movements on the exercise app, Strava, and stopped her car near the Austin apartment where the victim had been staying prosecutor said. So that's one thing I never really talked about was the app Strava, which that's scary right there. Why would you be calculating your movements on a app? That was dangerous of Mo to do that. Why are you wanting people to know what you're doing and where you're going? Now, if you just wanted people to see how much riding you're doing, okay, that's one thing, but it's still dangerous because it's obviously a GPS configuration. They can find you still. And this is what the prosecution is alleging, that this is how Kay found her. This is very creepy to me. All of it's creepy. Whether it was through him telling her where to meet him or, you know, following his own GPS through phone data, whatever, it's all creepy. However she did it, it's all creepy to me. Okay, once again, she had access to his messages on a laptop that was in their home. The suspect then tracked Wilson's movements on the exercise app, Strava, and stopped her car near the Austin apartment where the victim had been staying, prosecutors said. The DA also presented cell phone data, surveillance footage, and GPS information that shows Strong's Jeep circling the murder scene shortly before Wilson's slaying. After the killing, Armstrong sold that Jeep and fled to Costa Rica, where she underwent plastic surgery to her nose and changed her hair color and cut. Investigators have said Armstrong tried to establish a new life in Costa Rica as a yoga instructor before she was apprehended on June 29th last year, officials said. This is a developing story. Please check back for updates. NBC News is the source. So Strava is some type of app where a person, I guess, can put in their data, location to let a person see what they're doing. It's very strange to even think about how you can get yourself tangled up in webs by doing these types of things. One, getting involved with this guy or meeting with him, knowing he's still messing around with this woman and living with her. That's number one. You two have had some type of words. She's called your phone to tell you about messing with her man. That should have been enough for you to leave him alone. But you didn't. You still went and met that man. And a lot of people say, well, you're not supposed to be victim shaming, victim bashing. But as I said before, everybody has to own his or her part in a story. And there doesn't seem to be a secret that these two were together. It doesn't matter what type of relationship they had. If it was what you want to call good, bad, tumultuous, up and down. The point is Mo knew about her. That wasn't a secret. This woman has contacted her. And I don't know how many times she contacted Mo into the new year of 2022, but she did. And that's my point. Why go back into the lion's den with this guy? It doesn't matter if it was for business, professional meeting to talk about cycling. It was dangerous because this lady was coming unglued or possibly had already come unglued. And it was just a matter of time. She got the information she needed. Oh, they're talking, they're meeting. Boom, I'm getting ready to go kill this lady. And as I said, if it wasn't Mo, it would have been somebody else. That's what people need to understand about a person's behavior. He is a whore, a male whore, in my opinion. It would have been somebody else. Kaitlin would have been chasing him behind, some other chick. If it wasn't Mo, it would have been Susie or Mary from Galveston or New Jersey. It wouldn't have mattered. That's the point. What happened in Texas was going to happen. And had everybody bowed out, which nobody did, is the reason we have this crime and now a guilty verdict of a woman. So all these lives have been affected, all because somebody didn't say, hey, I'm worthy, I deserve better, and I don't want to play these reindeer games with this guy anymore. Hey, I don't want to play these reindeer games with this lady anymore. Hey, I don't need to be hooking up with this lady and talking to her knowing this lady knows about it and goes in my damn phone. And you know there are a lot of men who play these type of games. They know the woman has access to their phone, and I just feel like they like it. And they don't care that she's going to go call the other chick. It's almost like a notch in the belt. Yeah, she likes me. She cares for me. She's gaga goo-goo. She's going crazy, flipping out, wigging out. And then they go moan and cry to the other lady about her. But then in the same breath, they got to then poop or scoop once the main lady contacts the one that he likes. Oh, I'm sorry she called you. I apologize and blah, blah, blah. I wonder if he ever did that. Apologize to Mo when Kate first found her, contacted her. What actually was said by all? Hey, what are you doing talking to my man? How long have you two been talking? What's going on? Have you had sex with him? Blah, blah, blah. Then what did Kate say to him? What was his response? And then what was his response to Mo? Do you see what I'm saying? It's just a vicious cycle. And now one's getting ready to face death in prison, literally, and the other one's no longer alive and left behind friends and family members to mourn her. And then he's sitting here walking around like a duck out of water, mad at the world and pushing cameramen and stepping on cameramen's feet because he made that fucked up choice to entangle these women. That was his choice. See, that's what Colin is mad about. He's mad he couldn't continue messing with Mo and holding Kay on the side. That's exactly what I thought when he lashed out at those cameramen. And that's something I didn't mention during my live streams. He's mad because he got caught and somebody died that he can no longer play footsies with and swoon over and, oh, you're pretty and, oh, you're talented. And so one would say, well, damn, if you felt that way about Mo, why the hell didn't you just cut Kay off for good? But then look at the flip side. This is how she would have reacted possibly had he cut her off, whether he was talking to Mo or not. She possibly would have killed him. Diabolical story. Diabolical story. NBC News is the source of that information, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Lord have mercy. What a mess. What a mess. Now I'm going to go to my next story, which is Mr. Brett Hankinson. Thank you for joining me. Story out about true crime. It's terrible. All right, everybody. Sorry about that. Bouncing around. All right, let's get to our Breonna Taylor situation. KTVO.com is my second article, if you need verification for the information. A federal judge declared a mistrial Thursday, which is today, Thursday afternoon, after a jury deadlocked on civil rights charges against a former Louisville police officer who fired stray bullets in a raid that claimed the life of 26-year-old Breonna Taylor. Brett Hankinson was charged with using excessive force that violated the rights of Taylor, her boyfriend, and her next-door neighbors. Lanita Baker, who spoke on behalf of the Taylor family, said the family was disappointed the jury didn't reach a verdict. She said the family had been praying for a different outcome in the case. But she added that all hope is not lost. A mistrial is not an acquittal, so we live another day to fight for justice for Breonna, Baker told reporters outside court. Baker also said the family would like to see a retrial, noting she thinks it would be in their favor. This is what she had to say. There are things that Brett Hankinson said in this trial. He argued all along that he could see into the window that he was shooting through, but on cross-examination, he had to admit that he was not able to see what he was shooting at, Baker said. There is very important and something that they don't have to go retrying and proving that fact again because he has as much admitted it during this trial, quote unquote. And that's interesting because I would assume the room was probably dark. So what is it that you were saying? Nothing. The 12-member, mostly white jury struggled to reach a verdict over several days. And that was something I wanted to ask as well. What was the composition of the jury? And now we hear mostly white people were on the jury. On Thursday afternoon, they sent a note to the judge saying they were at an impasse. U.S. District Judge Rebecca Grady Jennings urged them to keep trying, and they returned to deliberations. Baker said Taylor's loved ones would like to see a more diverse jury in the event of a retrial. All we can do is work to further diversify juries, she said. Hopefully on the next trial, the jury does reflect the diversity of the city in the Western District of Kentucky. A retrial would be determined by federal prosecutors at a later date. Hankinson, 47, fired 10 shots into Taylor's window and a glass door after officers came under fire during the flawed drug warrant search on March 13, 2020. Some of his shots flew into a neighboring apartment, but none of them hit anyone. I had to react, he testified. I had no choice. KTVO is the source. You did have a choice because we later learned that this was a orchestrated raid. You all met up, you and your little buddies, to go into this apartment knowing that young man that you were allegedly supposed to be issuing the warrant for did not live there. You had this girl's apartment under surveillance. You had a place where he frequented under surveillance. And at some point, you had gathered information that that guy did not stay there. She had someone there at the time, a male, African-American male, and he was licensed to carry, from my understanding. So that is where the gunshots came back, because he didn't even know what was going on and had no idea. And by law, he had every right to defend himself because he didn't know what was going on. But you see, one thing begets another. You orchestrated a fraudulent warrant. That's number one. And then when you went firing, playing the old Wild West out there, endangering the lives of that girl, that guy, neighbors, you killed her because you had no business going there. That guy didn't live there. He hadn't even been dating her. And we later learned you all knew of that, and you pressed forward and got some stinking judge to sign the warrant. And that's the thing people need to understand about a warrant. Police officers, detectives, they don't orchestrate the warrants as far as putting a signature on it for it to go forward, to be served. They gather the information, and then that information is taken to the court, and then the judge decides if the warrant should go forward as far as issuing it for an arrest, a raid. So they doctored information, because I did a little research a while back, and they watched mail go there, packages. The young boy had packages going there to her apartment. And one thing that was found, something like a hoodie or sweatshirt, had come to her address. No drugs, no paraphernalia, no drug paraphernalia. So this botched raid cost this girl her life. And no matter what you think of her and her dealings with a guy who sold drugs or used drugs, the point is there were no drugs there, and allegedly there was no money there. Let me throw that in there too. And that was also mentioned from the young guy who was talking to someone in jail. Something about some money. So let's just say he left money there instead of drugs. Where was the money? Because let's just say he did leave money there. They stole the money. I won't doubt it. But the point is, the warrant was supposed to be for that guy. I'm assuming. And if it was for her, she didn't have anything. She didn't have any drugs. She didn't have any money. Because now I'm about to really forget who the hell the warrant was supposed to be for. Because that's the whole point. It was a botched warrant. The object of the warrant was to seize drugs, and there were no drugs found there. But this is what happens when you're so gung-ho in getting somebody, taking them down, and then you go to the destination and you don't get that person, you don't get the drugs, and then you end up killing somebody, and then you act like, oh, it was justified. How's it justified? That girl's dead. And you could have killed that guy who was just some guy dating her, seeing her. He could have lost his life all on you all wanting to get some other guy and or take her down, however you want to word it. Because I believe it's a combination of getting them both. But they weren't even together. They weren't dating each other. And that's the whole point of this story. You knew that. You had to have known that. Because if you watched her house, because that's what you're supposed to do before you go forward to the judge with asking for a raid, asking for a warrant, you're supposed to survey the place that you wanted to serve the warrant. So if you were accurately watching her house, her movements, following her to her job, different things, you would have seen she wasn't talking to that guy. She wasn't selling drugs out the apartment. She didn't have people coming in and out buying drugs. You would have already known that if you had done a proper investigation. But as I said, you all were really gung-ho on that guy. And you felt like, well, at some point, she's dated him, talked to him, dealt with him. He lived there, but he wasn't the day you served the warrant. And that's the point. And usually when they are investigating, when the police detectives are investigating, the drug squad, drug unit is investigating people for drug trafficking, those investigations go on sometimes for years. For years. They just don't up and get a warrant signed and go bum rush somebody's house because somebody called and said, oh, they're selling drugs out of there. They're trafficking drugs out of there. They're manufacturing drugs in there. No, they watch. Then they get them some guinea pigs to use to go purchase the drugs, and usually they're wired up. So that should tell you something right there. You didn't even have confirmation of somebody saying they were buying drugs from the young lady or the guy who just so happened to not stay there. Praying for justice for Breonna Taylor. This is a two-part live pertaining to 2 court trials. Kaitlin Armstrong has been found guilty for the murder of Mariah Wilson in Texas, and Brett Hankinson, who was no longer a Louisville officer, had a trial for violating the rights of Miss Breonna Taylor, and a jury predominantly made up of white citizens were deadlocked, and the judge has declared a mistrial. Now, it will be up to federal prosecutors to decide if they want to retry Mr. Hankinson again. I hope that they will. Naturally, it's costly to continue to go to court and try citizens, but I think it needs to be retried. He needs to be retried because there needs to be justice for this young lady. Because you cannot just doctor up warrants and go bum rush people's homes on what you thought you knew without ironclad information and clarification and a receipt. And that's my opinion. I want to thank you all so much for joining me. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please check my community board for updates to stories, breaking news, commentary. And also, as I said, I have 2 suggestions for movies this week, and you can feel free to watch them this weekend since it is now Thursday. One of them is still here, now playing on Tubi, and the one I watched late this morning, which is a diabolical movie called Ride, RYDE, now playing on the Xumo app. That's XUMO. Very interesting movie. There were times I flinched because of the violence in the movie. So if you do not like violence, this will not be a movie for you. But it is a cautionary tale of getting into people's cars for rideshare. And as someone said, I believe it was yesterday, I was watching some commentary, we all trust people. some form of fashion. Yeah, it was late this morning. I was watching some true crime. I think it was A&E or something, a story about the Baton Rouge serial killer. And one point, I believe the detective or the author said, we all trust people at some point. And that's so true. Because these people, detectives, the city, citizens are trying to figure out, how is this man getting in the homes of these women? And that's the one thing that people fail to realize, is that you trust strangers every day, whether you're a man or a woman. You trust strangers to come into your house, whether you are liking them, dating them, or not. When you call to have your cable checked, your phone checked, Wi-Fi checked, what do? You set up an appointment, and they give you a time when the agent is supposed to show up, representative is supposed to show up to repair the problem. The point is, you don't know the person, and you're letting that person into your home, your personal space. You call a plumber, same thing. Roofer, same thing. You don't know him. You don't know him. And that is the point. It's not always about dating someone, a fling, a setup, prostitution, escort. It could be just you're getting work done to your house, and the person has to come in your house. Could even be more than one person, man, woman, whomever, and you're trusting this person to come in to perform a task. But the point is that once the door is closed, all bets are off. Anything could happen once that door is shut. And many people have trusted people to come in their house, legal representatives of companies, and people they've met through other people who do odd jobs for a living, the neighborhood handy guy. And they have come in and assaulted people, stole from them, robbed them, because they know what's in your house. They know the layout of the house, whatever the reasons are for the theft, the robbery. The point is, you don't know people. So it's more than just, oh, she got tangled up with the wrong guy. Oh, she's dating somebody possessive. Oh, she had a fling. Oh, she met some guy on a date app. That's the one thing I keep telling people about that. People are people. You scratch social media, date apps, that same guy is a dog rogue, whether there was ever a date site, a singles ad in a newspaper, social media, Facebook. If you're a rogue, you're a rogue. You're going to do those things, whether there was ever a date site, IG, Facebook, TikTok. If you're ill, you're ill. And that's what people need to understand. That all these people that are walking by you, the guy that works for Xfinity, the roofer, the plumber, the guy at McDonald's, the guy that drives the bus, the FedEx, if he's tainted no matter where he goes in life, where he lives, who he dates, sleep with, married to, kids, no kids, mama's boy, it doesn't matter. And that's what people need to focus on. Stop putting people in groups and saying, oh, those are the kind that would rape a woman. Those are the kind that are going to lie and scam and fish you and catfish you. No. If you're tainted, you're tainted. If you're out here trying to hustle a woman, hustle men, hustle people out their money, defraud them, you're going to do it wherever. You get caught in Jersey, you might move over to New York. You might move on down to Pennsylvania. You see where I'm going? It doesn't matter. That's the point. A rogue is a rogue. And if they can't get the money from you directly, scheming, scamming, they'll find another way. And that's just the whole point. You have to be careful of the people you are meeting every day, putting your personal information out there in emails and opening apps and links. All this is dangerous now. Ordering things online, you also can get your bank account compromised just from ordering from Amazon, Walmart. It's all the same. You don't know people. And many people are looking for a quick way to make a quick buck, a quick hustle. So just be aware of your surroundings. Please be aware of the things you talk about, the things you repeat, talking out loud in public. I keep telling people that too. You have to be careful what you say when you're in public. You're standing outside your apartment building. You're letting everybody know, oh, I'm going to take a trip to New York. I'll be gone 5 days. Why are you talking about that? You can't yell those things out. You have to be aware. There is always people listening. Nobody needs to know you're going to be gone for 5 days. Now you've told the world your apartment is unattended. Your condo is unattended. Why are you doing that? People don't think. You got to think. Everybody don't need to know when you go to work, how long you're going to be gone. Oh yeah, I work Monday through Friday. I don't get home about 5. Well, that's just enough time for somebody to clear your whole damn house out. How about that? Just a little friendly advice. Please be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of what you post. Be aware of what you divulge in your posts, your commentary, using your legal name on social media. Say that again too. YouTube, TikTok, X, whatever. Dating sites. You have to be aware of what you are giving to the public. Say what, honey? Still need to be aware though. Oh, okay. Yes, you do. And I say this because, some people may not feel like it has anything to do with what I'm talking about, but it does. Because we live in a world that's ran by gadgets, technology, and this is how a lot of people are being taken advantage of, abused. That's the whole point. We have all types of crimes out here, cyber crimes. We have people, as I said, looking for the hustle, looking for a way to make a quick buck. And then we got our crazy people who are such as this, come unglued because of another woman. Slap happy to serve a warrant, run up in somebody's house, shoot their house up, kill them. It takes all kinds. That's my point. You don't know people. You can't trust everybody. Everybody with a smile does not mean they're going to mean you good. Just because somebody's in a uniform does not mean they're going to serve you good. Does not mean they're going to do right by you. Does not mean they're going to protect you because you do not know people. That's my point. That you have to be leery. Now, I'm not saying walk around frightful, scared to go out past dark, but you do need to be aware of people and the conversations you have with people and the things that you divulge to people. Announcing your business, your comings and your goings. Just be aware of your surroundings. Once again, if you'd like to donate to this great network, $Big Angie, 129 Cash App, stickers and chats are welcome during a live stream. Thank you for those who visited shortly during this live stream. Miss Lowe and Miss Amy, thank you so much. You are welcome. Please check my community board for the said polls and take the polls because your voice counts, your opinion counts. I ask these questions just to get the feeling of people in general, because a lot of people watch YouTube, a lot of people watch true crime, and I like to hear what you have to say, and I like to hear your opinions about what's going on during the trial, information coming out, a little bit of innuendo, a little bit of gossip. That's always expected because, as I always say, a version is a version. But just to get your opinion pertaining to the said information, I'm going to be veering away from true crime as much as I can. I'm just going to be bringing daily events, hypotheses, things we go through every day, such as what I'm talking about right now, giving you a little bit of everything. Old news, old crime stories every blue moon. I'm going to bring you something because, as I said, I still owe you a story about Mr. Avery, and I'm going to try to focus on that tomorrow for sure. But a lot of my content now is just going to be about daily events going on in the world, because right now I'm just at a point where I don't want to continue to keep updating stories and having to keep going in to bring information and dig up the latest events of things. It's becoming a little too daunting for my taste, and it's just not something I want to continue doing. As I had said a year ago, I wanted to change the format of this network. That was the reason why I changed the name to the Vault XL from Everyday Shenanigans. I wanted to let it be an open forum of different content to where it's not just I have to continuously follow a story and bring an update. Because when it comes to true crime stories, once you go from the start, people expect you to finish. and waiting for people to go to trial, waiting to get the information every day on the update on who said what. It's just a bit much for me, and it takes up a lot of time, and I just would like to focus on some other content. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. It's kind of warm here in the high 10. We're having some very warm days. And as I said to somebody a week ago, I said, I won't be surprised if we have a warm Thanksgiving, which is kind of scary thinking of Thanksgiving at 70 degrees or 76. But anyway, it's going to be warm tomorrow here in East Tennessee. And I don't know about you guys' jurisdictions, but right now it's a very creepy November. We went from warm October to now warm November. So this is a weird season. Some people might believe we'll probably get a harsh winter because it's still warm now. But anyway, enjoy the weather. If you're living in a demographic that's having a warm winter, enjoy it while you can, because you should know eventually Jack Frost will be sneaking around the corner because that's his job. All right, everybody. Thank you for your time. Love the emojis. You all are so funny. See you guys later. I will be back with more content. I'm going to try to find you something juicy to talk about. Hopefully tomorrow, besides Mr. Avery. But we'll find something good to talk about. But please check out The Ride. Because let me tell you something. I was up late this morning watching that. I had popped me some popcorn on the stove, the old-fashioned way, and honey, I was into that movie like white on rice. And I was talking to that TV, fussing and squinting and covering my eyes and flinching. It is brutal. It is violent. So as I said, if you do not like violence, it will not be the type of movie you would like, but it is on the Xumo app, Xumo. It's like Pluto or, one of the other streaming apps. It's a very, let's just say it will take your breath away. This guy is sick. He gives new meaning to wacko, obsessed, deranged. His emotions are all over the place. You can't read them because one minute he's acting this way, the next minute he's acting this way. And naturally, it's going to give you a nice little ending. So please check out Ride, RYDE. I posted it to my community board. You are free to watch the trailer to decide if you want to watch the movie or not. It is playing on the Xumo app. Please check it out. But I don't recommend you watching it late. For those of you who fright easily, it's not a movie that you, yeah, it is a little scary because it's about ride sharing. It's about getting in the car with a stranger and taking a ride to your said destination. Goes back to what I was just talking about. You don't know people. So this is why I suggested the movie, because I always like to bring you all something that is pertaining to real life. And, it is, considered a thriller or a scary movie, but it's also, it is real because we do have ride shares such as Uber, Lyft. So this is why I wanted you to watch it. For those of you who are not afraid to watch, a thriller, but it's more violent than most thrillers that I have seen. It's pretty violent. So that's why I'm giving you a heads up now. If you don't like a lot of brutality, I don't recommend it. But if you think you can stand some blood and gore, then check it out. Even if you're curious, get somebody else to watch it with you. And I advise you to watch it early evening. And so you don't have any nightmares when you go to sleep tonight. All right, everybody. Enough chitter chatter. Thank you for your time. You've been listening to the Vault XL. See you guys later. Thank you so much, Lo and Amy. Y'all have a wonderful evening.